Hi, I'm Rick Anthony, and welcome to the Someone You Should Know podcast, the podcast that focuses on musicians, authors, and interesting people. We like to say we're making a difference one artist at a time. So sit back, have a cold one, and get ready to meet someone you should know. On the podcast today is an international recording artist with many accolades. She covers the full gamut from Christian to pop to country, and she joins me today from beautiful North Carolina, the lovely Jennifer Alvarado. Jennifer, welcome aboard.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
You got so much great music. I read your bio. It said that at the age of 4, you were already writing songs. As a teenager, you were leading worship in church and felt the call to ministry. You released a single called Relentlessly. And then in 2015, you followed with your first Christian album called Hello Life. Can you take us back through the early days from 4 years old all the way up to your Christian following there?
Yeah. So I think of course, when you first start writing and you're 4, you make up a lot of songs that are about unicorns and rainbows and whatever else. I think I just gravitated toward music. Like that was always my way of expressing myself. I was an only child, or I am an only child. And I think for me, it was an outlet. It was just, that's where it started. It was an outlet for me to express and have fun, and got involved with choir, church choir at an early age, and then school musicals and stuff like that. I always wanted to sort of, I wouldn't say be the center of attention, but at least.
You like being on stage?
Yeah, I like kind of just falling into a song and getting lost in the music. And so I think I had that even when I was little. I would stay in my room for hours and just sing and listen to what people did and study what people did. And was always fascinated when I would go to like a live show and see just everything that was happening and the performance aspect of it, and how to really perform and share a song. And it always intrigued me, especially I remember Martina McBride released the song Independence Day.
Yep.
I
Know it well.
can't remember how old I was, but I remember the first time I saw that video and I thought, this has to be like her life. And then it was a couple years later that I realized like that was a song written by somebody else and she sang it.
Mm-hmm.
And it just showed me the power of music. And so I was always very interested in music and that expression and how it somehow affected me, and why did it affect me, and why did it seem to talk to me. And so it was more of just trying to figure that out and do that on my own. And got involved with a couple different ensembles and stuff during my teen years. And honestly, my parents are very practical people, very realistic people, so they were always like, you can do this. Like you can, take your lessons and be doing this, but you're not going to do this as a career. Like
you need a profession. Yeah, I know.
Yes,
You can't live the fantasy world. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I had actually planned to leave and go to Nashville when I was 17. And my parents were like, you're too young for this. You're not doing this. And so ended up staying in town and did a vocal performance major, but was totally unhappy. And I think my parents, part of them were kind of happy that I was so unhappy with
Oh,
that.
no.
Just from the standpoint of like,
they didn't want to see their little girl go away and not have somebody to fall back on.
From the standpoint of like, oh, well, maybe this will like kick her into like realistic
I understand.
career path now. And honestly, I ended up going the political science route and did that for a while. Graduated, was a paralegal for an international company that did telecommunications. Was absolutely miserable and found myself back at music. So,
can I ask you a question? How do your parents feel about your success now?
My mom comes to shows and she's like, I'm proud of you. I think they still are weary. They're very practical people.
Okay.
Like I don't know what else to say. And so I think that there's always in the back of their mind, like, is this sustainable? Is this gonna like are you going to have a career with this and be able to pay the bills? And so that's where they're from. Like
Right.
where,
I totally understand that. It's like me when I grew up, all I wanted to do was be an announcer. That's all I ever wanted to
yeah,
do. And the only way I could do it was to join the military. And they were happy that I joined the military because it was something that I have a guaranteed paycheck on.
gotcha.
But I don't know
Yeah.
how they really stood about the idea of me really being a success in it. And it took me a while to be a success in it.
Right.
And I think when they passed, they were proud of what their little boy had done with
Yeah.
his life and such. And I'm just very, very glad because I just wrapped up 44 years of doing that. And that's why I'm focusing on this podcast because it's just downright too much fun because I get a chance to meet great people like you. I want to ask about your influences when you started out. You right now
Yeah.
because you're doing country, you're doing pop, you're doing blues, kind of an eclectic blend of influences there. Who were some of your early influences?
So from the standpoint of country, definitely Reba McEntire. I
Hmm.
mean, I go to Reba all the time because I feel like she's just a good businesswoman. She knows what she's doing. She's been through every different facet of the entertainment industry at this point, and she knows how to sort of go back and forth. And she was the very first concert I ever went to.
Really?
So when
Okay.
I
Okay.
saw a performance, it was costume changes and it was dancing and it
Hmm.
was all this stuff happening.
Yeah,
And I
she's a
was
full
like,
performer too. I mean, that's just one of those individuals.
exactly.
I mean, you're not just going to get someone who stands behind a microphone with a guitar and sings for 2 hours and really learn much about them. She's an
Right.
individual that I mean, it's like a variety show with
It
her,
is. It
especially with
is.
her. And she's got the TV background too, so she's definitely not afraid of being in front of a camera or anything like that. So she's just a smart individual. That's a good one to follow right off the bat there. You
Yeah.
mentioned Martina McBride. Was she also an influence?
Definitely. Vocally, I think she was. And two, I loved singer-songwriters. When
Hmm.
I figured out the whole singer-songwriter thing and realized that people write songs for other people to sing, then
Right.
I really got into the singer-songwriter thing because there's just something about playing your own songs and knowing that that came from some kind of trauma or some kind of
Right.
area of your life and that it's true. And so I love Dina Carter for that
Oh,
reason because
absolutely. Yeah, Dina's.
she writes
Yeah.
so many of her
Yeah.
songs, if not all
Hmm.
of them. And even Taylor Swift to a certain degree, I mean, she,
I'm a Swiftie. I'm gonna say that as far as that goes. We saw her concert video and it was just absolutely fabulous. The girl puts on a great show.
but like Patty Griffin is another one.
Hmm.
I think that she's an amazing songwriter. Hillary Lindsay and some of the songwriters that are so prevalent today. Like I just love songwriters. I think that it's a special breed of people that are able to put those words and articulate them in such a way. And that's why I think I'm always honored when I do get like a songwriter of the year nomination or something because just to sort of be in that same club is amazing.
That is, yeah, that is amazing what you do. And it's I saw an interview recently with Bernie Taupin of Elton John fame. And he
Mhm.
says it's just amazing how the songs just came to him. The lyrics just came to him. Elton would just sit down and come up with, okay, I'm reading this, so this is going to be a little sad here. So we're going to go with a minor key here. And it's just how how the two of them were able to work together. You were talking about songwriters and you were surprised on people not writing their songs. The one that got to me was Tim McGraw's Live Like You Were Dying because that's a song about him. I mean, that's his story and everything like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And then you realize it wasn't him. It was him singing
Right.
it, but someone had brought it to him. So that's one thing. And there's where the money is too, is in the songwriting, as far as that's where you're going to wind up getting most of your royalties. There's performance royalties, but songwriting royalties go much, much deeper. And that's going to definitely benefit you down the road as far as it goes. Now, during the COVID shutdown, you switched gears, you ventured into country. And since
Mhm.
then, you've been working on a project. It's a two-part project called Songbird. Can you tell us about that project?
Yeah. So Songbird was sort of, you talk about Taylor Swift and when she breaks up with somebody, she writes an album. Um, for me, songwriting is my way of processing what's going on in my life,
Hmm.
especially when it comes to just big changes, life changes. And so back in 2018, 2019, that period of time, I was going through this whole thing of like, I had put so much time into ministry and thinking that music ministry and full-time ministry was what I was supposed to be doing. And I still am doing ministry. So I can't say it's not what I'm doing, but um it wasn't working out like I had planned. And I'm a planner. And when things don't work out, I freak out. So I started writing this project because I was leaving the church I was at. When I left, so many of our friends and the people that we had considered family were just gone. Like it was a very weird process, and it was a very lonely process. And so it was this idea of like everything that you thought you were is now gone. So where do you go from there? And so the first part of Songbird is very much about sort of this relationship that you thought was, so solid and all that, but then it deteriorates and it goes away. And so the last song on Songbird Part 1 was By This Time Next Year. And basically that was a song that I wrote on New Year's Eve, back in, I think, it might have been 2020, honestly. And it was about just letting go of the past and knowing that a year from now, your entire world, your entire life could be different.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can't just give up and die in this spot. And so that's really where that came from. It started with the title track Songbird, and I kind of built the project around that because at that point in time, I did feel trapped. I felt trapped in what I thought I was supposed to be doing and what I thought I was supposed to be, and it not working out. And then where do you go from there? And so that project was really it was a healing project. It's a project about healing and figuring out that you're more than your circumstances or what somebody has said that you are or any of that. Like, you're going to have those hurts and problems in life, and you choose whether you get back up and you keep going.
Good.
So
now we're going to feature a song from part 2 of Songbird. It's called Catfish, which wound up winning a Songwriter Award for Best Modern Country Song, 3 Rampage Music Awards for Best Pop Vocal Performance, Album of the Year, and Single of the Year. Holy cow, girl, bunch of accolades right there. What's your thoughts on the accolades and also the backstory on the song?
honestly, that song was sort of in my trash pile. I hate to say that.
Isn't it amazing, though? It's God destined that song to be a success, sweetie. There you go. Okay.
Well, yeah. But no, it was in my trash pile, and my producer heard it because, I send him songs every once in a while, and I'm like, what do you think of this? And he was like, we have to record that. Like, we have to. And I was like, ugh, okay, fine. So I give him all credit. Like, that is all Ricky, that he decided that we needed to record that. So
well, there you go. That's a great song. Now, this song is not about going catfishing. This is about being catfished. And you think about that NFL player, Monty Teo, who wound up he was one of the most famous persons that was catfished and such. So were you catfished at some point, or what's the story on it?
So not in regards to how the song plays out, but it was sort of, yes, like it goes back to that season of life and how you're constantly promised certain things and they're made to look a certain way. Mm-hmm. And you that carrot is
dangling. Yep, exactly. I was just going to say that.
You keep going and then it gets moved again. It's kind of like that commercial where the guy has the fishing pole or whatever, and he jerks the dollar away and says, oh, you almost had it. That was sort of that period of time in my life. So yeah, I did feel catfished in a lot of ways, and just kind of manipulated. So that's what that song is about.
Okay, here it's Catfish time right now on the Someone You Should Know podcast, featuring today's podcast guest, the lovely Jennifer Alvarado.
Just walking in your dirty boots. Anyway, I twist and I'll still be the one to lose. Don't you get tired of lying? Do you even remember your name? Karma has a way of finding you when you get in her way. Acting like a catfish, making me think you're something that you couldn't not. Using all of your tricks, hoping I'll take the bait in your little pond. But you're nothing but a troll, pulling your lines to break unsuspecting hearts. So to keep a list of all the things you say. Soon your alibis are gonna come back to play. Don't you get tired of lying? Aren't you scared of being alone? The truth always comes out of hiding, even when you think it won't. You're acting like a catfish, making me think you're something that you clearly not. Using all of your tricks, hoping I'll take the bait in your little pond. But you're nothing but a troll, pulling these lines to break unsuspecting hearts. So if you think we're going fishing in the dark, you've been catfished. Well, you've been catfished. You're twisting all these lines, thinking that you've won this game. But you're about to see it's you that's been played. Nothing but a catfish, making me think you're something that you clearly not. Using all of your tricks, hoping I'll take the bait in your little pond. But you're nothing but a troll, pulling these lines to break unsuspecting hearts. So if you think we're going fishing in the dark, but you're nothing but a catfish, making me think you're something that you clearly not. Using all of your tricks, hoping I'll take the bait in your little pond. But you're nothing but a troll, pulling these lines to break unsuspecting hearts. So if you think we're going fishing in the dark, you better go and tell your no good cheating heart. It's been catfished. You're gonna be mine. Oh yeah. You're gonna be mine.
Award-winning artist Jennifer Alvarado and Catfish right there on the Someone You Should Know podcast. We're going to hear more of Jennifer's award-winning music in just a bit. But I want to take a few moments to say thank you so much for tuning in to the Someone You Should Know podcast. You can find us on the World Wide Web at someoneyoushouldknowpodcast.com. There you're going to find our recent news, our archive of past episodes, and it goes all the way back to October of 2022. A lot of episodes for you to check out in case you missed any along the way. And if you happen to be visiting for the very first time, we invite you to leave a review. Now, according to our good friends at Buzzsprout, who have the service of sharing podcasts, our podcast, to all the streaming platforms, we want to say thank you so much for everybody tuning in. 1,800 cities in 85 countries around the world. We want to salute a couple of new ones: Ashburn, Virginia, Southport, North Carolina, Algonquin, Illinois, and our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. The Someone You Should Know podcast, heard wherever quality streaming audio is available. And we get back to our interview with the lovely Jennifer Alvarado. A lot more accolades I want to talk about here. You were named as one of the ones to watch in Nashville Songwriters Association in 2021 and 22. You were also named the 2021 Country Artist of the Year by Indie Star Radio. You've got wins and nominations of various Josie Awards through the years. So what would you say is your most proudest moment or your biggest accomplishment to date?
I'd still go back to the 2021 Indie Star Radio Country Artist of the Year. And the reason for that is because I had been coming out of that season where I felt like I had no support whatsoever. And that's a fan voted thing. And so when I won that, just knowing that I do have support was a huge eye opener for me. And it gave me the motivation to keep going on, because honestly, before I started sending my songs out to people, Indie Star was the first place I sent my songs to. And they were kind of like, I had sort of decided I'm going to send these songs to them. And if they don't want to hear them, then I'm putting everything back on a shelf and I'm no longer doing music anymore. Like, that's where I was in that time period of my life. And that was the beginning of 2021. And so for it to kind of catch fire like that, and for people to accept it and like the music, and for me to be able to see that and see that there was something more there to keep going after, that was a huge moment. And that was a huge, like, life turn for me. So
Awesome. That's great. That's great. We hope you have many more of those. And I think you will because your songs are just really, really good. We're going to look at another award-winning song here. This is Rock This Way, a song that wound up winning Best Pop Song and Best Overall Song by the Indie Songwriters Awards in the spring of 2022. Your thoughts on this particular song?
this song, so I grew up listening to classic rock as well. My mom was a huge classic rock top 40s fan.
Okay.
So I grew up listening to Chicago, Eagles, Tom Petty, all of those I love. And when I was writing the Songbird project, honestly, my thought was I have to write at least like one happy-go-lucky song. Like this project's going to be doomsday if I don't.
Okay.
And so I went from the standpoint of wanting to write a song that basically paid kind of a nod back to all of my favorite classic rock songs. So that's what that song is. It's essentially, I have little statements throughout the whole song. I think it's like 30 or 40 songs altogether, of where I just sort of tried to make a story out of everything. So
awesome. It's a great song. Everyone's going to love it. Here it is right now. Rock This Way from our award-winning singer-songwriter Jennifer Alvarado here on the Someone You Should Know podcast.
Crazy train moving on down the track. Too scared to look forward, don't wanna look back. Like a bird free falling in a neon sky. We were born to take it easy on a sweet slow ride. Like a burned out jukebox still plays rock and roll. Your love soothes my soul. We're gonna rock this way to the beat, steady as a drum. We're gonna prove us right and prove them wrong. And we keep on keeping on. Like your favorite song playing on the radio and singing out at the top of your lungs. We're gonna rock this way to love. Don't let the sound of your wheels while they're turning ever drive you crazy. You gotta keep on, never stop believing and holding me, baby. Walk this way while you give me a kiss. Can you handle this? We're gonna rock this way to the beat, steady as a drum. We're gonna prove us right and prove them wrong. And we keep on keeping on. Like your favorite song playing on the radio and singing out at the top of your lungs. We're gonna rock this way to love. You don't have to cry no more. I'm coming home to you. And oh my, 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 I'm singing this song for you. We're gonna rock this way to the beat, steady as a drum. We're gonna prove us right and prove them wrong. And we keep on keeping on. Like your favorite song playing on the radio and singing out at the top of your lungs. We're gonna rock this way. We're gonna rock this way to the beat, steady as a drum. We're gonna prove us right and prove them wrong. We keep on keeping on. Like your favorite song playing on the radio and singing out at the top of your lungs. We're gonna rock this way. We're gonna rock this way. We're gonna rock this way to love.
Great song right there from Jennifer Alvarado. The song is called Rock This Way, paying an homage to some classic rock artists that she loved through the years, right here on the Someone You Should Know podcast. What's your writing process like, Jennifer? Are you disciplined? Do you take a specific spot of the day, or are you kind of a fly by the seat of your pants kind of girl who carries a notepad and phone apps and jots ideas down that way?
Yes. So I'm kind of all of it. So I used to be very disciplined. I would have I would do the whole I've got to write a song a day kind of thing. And you get a lot of bad songs and then you get like one that works after 20 songs. But anyway, yeah, I started very disciplined. I would say over the past year, I've kind of fallen out of that. Simply because of my schedule and being on the road. And so you just kind of, it hits you at different times. It hits you at 3 a.m. It hits you on the way back from Nashville at, midnight. So, yes, I have a lot of notes in my phone. I have a lot of little voice memos. Yeah, that's where we're at currently with things.
Very good. Jennifer, I did the same thing. I wrote comedy for the All-Star Radio Network for like 19 years. And It's amazing where the ideas come from. And I would literally had to have a notepad by the side of my bed and also in the bathroom, because either I'm taking a bath or sitting on the throne, and all of a sudden an idea comes up, and it's like immediately jot that down. And as soon as I wake up, it's like, I got to write that down because comedy is Bill Engvall told me, comedy is just 15 degrees off of normal. And that's exactly, you just look at things just a little differently. And it was one of those things, I had to write it down or else I'd wind up blowing up inside, because it's just something really good. You were just talking about being on tour, and the next phase of our podcast here is something we love. It's called Tales from the Road. These are those infamous road stories of getting to a gig, something that happened at a gig, something that didn't go quite as planned. Kind of think of the movie Spinal Tap. But okay, Jennifer, the floor is yours. What would you say is your Tales from the Road?
There's so many at this point. So I'll give you like my worst gig that I ever went to. So I'm not going to tell you the town because there's not many places in this town to play. And so it could be very easily figured out. But I went to this town and I got there. And I immediately knew that this show was not going to go well. I was standing under a big, like deer head or whatever, which that's fine. Whatever. But there was a rebel flag and all of that. And so I just thought, okay, again, I'm from the South, not something abnormal. But there was a song that they decided to put on the jukebox right before I started that was highly inappropriate. And I thought, this is not my crowd. Like, this is not going to go well. And it didn't go well. And the first hour felt like an eternity and a half. But there was one lady who got on the phone while I was singing and said, is there a band at such and such? Like, I want to come hear a full band.
Oh,
and so it was just
heartbreaking.
It was horrible, horrible experience. Like, I don't know. Like it was clear that I didn't fit there, and they knew I didn't fit there, and so I will not go back.
Awesome.
But anyway,
well, it's a good story that you can look upon and say, if I survived that moment, I could survive just about anything. That's one of the things I really love about hearing these tales from the roads, because it's all about something that happened in your life, but you've gone beyond that. The only thing missing there was maybe some chicken wire, in front of the stage.
Yeah, no chicken wire that time. No beer bottles being thrown or chucked at my head, luckily. Yeah. But it was an awkward experience.
I had heard.
Luckily, I haven't had that many.
I had heard a similar one that was right up that same alley, as far as he was competing against a jukebox in another room. And he had gotten to a point, says, can we turn the jukebox down in the other room? And says, no, we got another $4 in that machine.
Yeah, I could see that. I could definitely see that. But yeah, so it's a learning experience.
Exactly.
You learn how to just sort of laugh it off because I'm a perfectionist. And so the first thing that hits me is like, what have I done that has caused this? And sometimes there isn't anything.
No, you got to. That's one thing that I learned is you got to realize it's not you. It's not you. And once you get past that, it's like, okay, this is just going to be a tough night. It's going to be a tough night.
Exactly.
And just move on beyond that and know that there's a lot of great places that would just love to have you. And speaking of that, we'd like to find out where you're going to be performing this year. How about links to your social media? What would be some good ways for all the fans to stay in touch?
Yeah, so as far as a tour schedule and all that, that is up. I'm adding stuff daily, honestly, for 2024. If you go to my website, it's jenniferalvarado.com. And up at the top, there's a music tab that comes down and you'll see a tour, I think 2024 tour. But I'm actually staying sort of closer to home this year as far as I'm playing shows in South Carolina, North Carolina, of course, Nashville, Tennessee area. And then also Virginia. But I haven't really. Last year, I went to California, and that was a great experience. Went to Northern California and down to LA. Finished off at the Viper Room, and then also went to Texas for South by Southwest back in March. And both of those were great experiences. But I feel like this year I need to focus on new music. And the road, I'm sure like the road can pull you away from time that you need to be focused on music. So, and just the creation process. So I am staying closer to home, but I'm not going to say that I wouldn't go further south or north or wherever if it calls.
Maybe someone's listening right now and says, something, I want you as part of my tour. I want you to start my tour.
Hey, I will do whatever you want me to do. Just call me.
And her contact information is on the webpage.
Yes, it is. And then social media wise, all my socials are at Jennifer Alvarado Music. Instagram, Facebook, all of that is Jennifer Alvarado Music.
Very good. I'll have links to everything down in the show notes. So if everyone's in your car right now and wanting to know, what was that, Rick? It's down in the show notes. Just click on it. It'll link directly and it'll take you right exactly where you need to go to keep in touch with Jennifer Alvarado right there. We're going to wrap up the show with another great song, a real pretty one called Colorado. What's the story on Colorado?
Yeah, so I have always loved Tequila by Dan and Shay. But when I would listen to that song, I was always sort of like, what happened to this relationship? Like, why did it deteriorate? What's the whole story behind it? And and they went into it a little bit, but not really. It was not clear cut. And so I wanted my clear cut answer, and so I wrote it.
Oh, very good. Very good. Dan and Shay, we love them too. As a matter of fact, my wife and my song for our wedding was Speechless.
Oh,
so
nice.
Yeah, so we love Dan and Shay, and I did country music for decades, and I really and truly think they're a very good band, and wish them very, very well. And maybe, hey, Dan and Shay, if you're listening, hey, Jennifer Alvarado, she's a great opening act. What do you think, huh? Okay.
Yes.
Get in touch with her at JenniferAlvarado.com. Jennifer, it's been a real treat to have you on the show, darling. Thanks so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Will we have the smoke or the altitude? The July sky was the only other one I knew. We were chasing stars and freedom, wrapped in his arms, our hearts were beating. Forever seemed so close when it was new. Damn you, Colorado, Rocky Mountains on a back road. He swore that he loved me, so I gave him everything. Then 10 miles south of Boulder, he told me we were over, that he'd met somebody, and I'm just a memory. So damn you, Colorado. Funny how I still recall everything. From the chill of the night air to him kissing me. In my sorority t-shirt and moonlit sky, we planned out the rest of our lives. Now it's all so bittersweet. Damn you, Colorado, Rocky Mountains on the back road, where he swore he loved me, so I gave him everything. And 10 miles south of Golden, he said we were over, that he met somebody, and I'm just a memory. So damn you, Colorado, damn you, Colorado, damn you, Colorado. Damn you, Colorado, Rocky Mountains on that back road. It's where he swore he loved me, so I gave him everything. Then 10 miles south of Boulder, he said we were over, that he met somebody, and it's just a memory. So damn you, Colorado, damn you, Colorado, oh, oh, oh. Damn you, Colorado, damn you, Colorado.
Hi, this is Rick Anthony, thanking you again for tuning in to this episode of the Someone You Should Know podcast. Before I go, I want to share some friends of mine who also have a podcast. Give them a listen, and I invite you to check us out next time right here on the Someone You Should Know podcast. All right, here's my friends right now from the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast.
Hey, everybody, it's Ray the Roadie.
And this is Hollywood Mike
with the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast, coming to you from the Illinois Rock and Roll Museum on Route 66 in Joliet, Illinois.
where once a week we are interviewing local musicians and singer-songwriters. And the podcast itself covers a wide range of topics, including, but not limited to, the history of rock and roll in Chicago, the current state of the scene, and the challenges and opportunities facing musicians today.
So join us every Tuesday for a new exciting episode of the Rock and Roll Chicago podcast.